Hi, my name's Dave Dunhill. Doing this video from Cornwall, United Kingdom. It's Sunday. Is it the 10th of July? There's lots of things I could talk about. I've had a morning where I've been watching some TV and I've watched a film. I've done other things and not been on the computer. I wasn't on it for most of yesterday and today. So I've not done the computer, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And what I am going to talk about is the lack of news about Afghanistan, or the lack of concern. And it's not the lack of concern. It's as though it's not happening. It's as though the disaster that's coming in the future is not going to happen. And it's as though the past 20 years have not happened. It's as though it's been erased from history. But what comes in the future is going to remind us of what has happened over the last 20 years. I mean, it's like if you're looking at your 18-year-old grandson or your 18-year-old son or daughter, they weren't even born before Tony Blair and George Bush took the United States and this country and other countries, the coalition, the Grand Coalition, which is a video in itself. How the coalition, when they use the word coalition, the coalition is a video in itself. So we've got this situation now where this disaster is coming. It's like a tsunami that's out to sea. In my book, might as well get my book because it's going to come up a few times. In my book, I describe a depression as a depressive episode, as it's like sitting on a beach in a chair. So you sat on a dining room chair on a beach on your own, in a bay, with high land to the side. So the sea comes in, you've got the tide that comes in and out. And I describe depression as like, it's as though you sat in a chair on this beach with a beautiful idyllic scene. But you can feel that out to sea, there's something coming. And it's a wave, it's a tsunami. And I describe depression as being an invisible tsunami that nobody else can see, but you can feel it. It's more of a feeling than looking and sight. So you're sat there in your chair on the beach, and all of a sudden you're aware of this thing that was out there in the distance. It's coming closer and closer and closer, and then it sweeps in to the bay. But you've still got this idyllic scene. Everybody can see an idyllic scene, but you can feel this invisible wave coming in, and then it's funneled in through the bay, and then it overwhelms you, but you're still sat in the chair. So you appear normal to everybody else. And then the wave sweeps over you, it sweeps past you, then it does its damage, whatever. And this visual image that I describe in my book of depression is you've got to just sit in your chair and wait. You've got to wait for this thing that nobody else can see to overwhelm you, tie you down in that chair. You can't fight it, you can't panic, you can't struggle. You can't find a solution to it because it's too powerful. And then it slowly recedes and goes back out to sea. But nobody else has seen this happening to you. So that's depression. Well, this Afghanistan thing, it's a very similar thing. There's something out there that's slowly making its way towards us. And it's going to hit us in different ways. And I did a video yesterday on the way to work. Took my camera. Didn't know what I was going to talk about. And I got my camera out on the coastal path as I'm walking my way to work. Then I started filming. And then I started talking about Afghanistan. But the video never came up. And what I did was, I talked about two things mainly. And I'm going to make a prediction about Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party. Her and others are going to, they're waiting, they love this. They're waiting for it to come. And what they're going to do is, they're going to make a case for letting lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of young girls into this country and their families, because they're going to be robbed of an education by the Taliban, you see. Because that's what Angela Rayner did the other day in Parliament. She stated her case for young girls being free to be educated. Well, that's not our fucking problem. What happens, how people are educated in another country, is not the problem of the people in this country, because our kids are not being educated either because of lockdown. Our kids have been betrayed. The slowly revealing figures of like 3, 4, 500,000 kids that have disappeared. Oh, that might be an exaggeration, but a very large number of kids have disappeared from the educational system because they weren't taught online, because they never logged in. They didn't log in because their family lives probably never allowed it, or who they were, what they were up to in life. It never allowed it. But the posh kids did, and the posh schools stayed open. But your kids on your council estates were just like pushed away. And Angela Rayner and all that actually wanted that because they wanted total lockdown, which equals total control. Well, the Taliban are about control. The Taliban have something in common with those of Parliament. And I'm not going to say just Labour. It's Parliament. It's about total control. We're in this period of total control. And I'm going to say this because I'll say it in the next video as well. 2021, and I said this at the end of 2020, I said 2021 I feel is the year of the reveal where we see things. It's going to be so bad. You're going to see things. And what we're seeing is Parliament going for control. We're seeing Parliament pushing Zoom democracy, which then means Zoom education, which then means Zoom NHS, where doctors... See, the NHS now is about just giving pills out. Well, you don't need to go to your doctor for that. You can do it over Zoom. Tell him your symptoms, and he will then give you a pill. You don't need to go to your doctor for that. So it's about control. These things are coming. So Parliament and Labour fully supported it, and at times said the government weren't doing enough. The government, which means Boris. And they were saying, I've lost my train of thought. They were saying that we needed to like close the schools down more. But the period is coming where Labour are going to say, and Angela Rayner has she's already set her cards out in that Commons debate. Well, it wasn't a debate, was it? It was just Boris making his declaration as PM that we're finished now in Afghanistan. It's done. It's gone. Finished. Forget it. It never happened. So we're going to see this period where Labour are going to set the stall out to bring all these Afghan girls in. Now that's going to be like flying them out, saving them. Just like we saw the Vietnam families all queuing up to get onto the roof, to get to the helicopter, to fly to an aircraft carrier off the coast of Vietnam. And all these families were there. We saw them on planes and everything. I was old enough to witness it, you know. And it was on your TV all the time. Well, it's going to be on the TV soon because they're saving it, they're saving it, they're saving it. Your newspapers. This is Saturday's paper. This is Saturday's Mail. The first 14 pages and the cover, the front page, so that's 15 pages, are about football. The first 14 pages, the most important pages in the newspaper, are football. Then there are other pages inside that are football. John Humphreys, that man of the BBC, who got paid £400,000-500,000 a year, he was deified as a god. You know, some people built shrines to him, leftist shrines. And as soon as he left the BBC, he said, they used to tell me what to say. They wouldn't allow me to say what I actually thought. Well, that man didn't have the courage to say it when he worked for the BBC. But now he gets paid to say it now for the Mail. And he's done a page as well about it. So that's 14 pages, the cover, and John Humphreys and these couple of other little things about football. And the only thing about Vietnam where anybody has made a comment is that Platel's people. That arsehole. That arsehole who I did a video on 16 months ago, where when we got the first lockdown, she said she spent 300 quid on her shopping and she got a load of booze in for when people visited for a party, for a drink during lockdown. She actually thought she could hold a party. That's how intelligent she is. And I did a video on her saying she doesn't fucking get it. She's like somebody who's supposedly educated, who gets a high profile of news to tell us how to think or what to think or give us an opinion that may change our thoughts on something. And this fucking idiot thought she's bragging that she's spending 300 quid on her shopping. She's single. For her and a fucking cat. She's got a load of cat food in. You know, drama queen. I'm getting loads of cat food in case it goes in short supply. But I'm also getting a load of booze in. That's what she said in a little column. Well, she's wrote something about Afghanistan, and she's the only person. There is another little story about, say, that big. But it's a Daily Mail campaign. Because they've always got a campaign. And it's to get the families in of the interpreters. So they've had a campaign to allow the interpreters in as we've left. Otherwise, the Taliban will kill him. And Labour are going to go for, yeah, we've got to let thousands of young girls in because the Taliban will cut them off from education and make them wear a burqa. Well, we know that the burqa is a good thing. Come on now. There's nothing wrong with the burqa. There is nothing wrong with the burqa. Because Parliament has told us there's nothing wrong with the burqa. It's not leading anywhere. You know, that future that we can see out to in the distance, the tidal wave, well, that future and the burqa in this country, there's no problem with it. Because there's no problem with it in Afghanistan. So when these young girls have to wear the burqa, what's the problem? When these young girls are taken away from education, what's the problem? Because it's their country. You've got to remember that countries are like individuals to the universe. They're nothing. A country with a characteristic, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, non-Christian, whatever, Buddhist, to the universe, they are nothing. They are insignificant. They are the equivalent, as I've said before, of an ant alone on the moon. That's what a country is to the universe. That's what a religion is to the universe. But they're allowed to go their own way because that's the way the universe works. It lets you go your own way and then something happens. So this is what Amanda Platel said about Afghanistan. And this is it. Other than the little Daily Mail comment about letting the interpreters in. But that's setting the stall out for the future, that, because you know what's coming. Denouncing Britain's withdrawal from Afghanistan after 20 years, Tory MP Tim Tugendhat asked, if persistence isn't persistent and endurance doesn't endure, how can people trust us? Well, what's the problem? How can people trust us on Afghanistan? Well, how can people trust us on what they're telling us about the pandemic, you know? So he's talking about a trust issue, isn't he, with Parliament? It is neither our job nor our duty to police lawless nations. The Afghan war has cost us 37 billion and achieved nothing. That's it. That is everything that is in the Mail on Saturday. Yeah, there's 15 pages on football. This is called a newspaper. But it's not giving us news, is it? It's not informing us of things that are going on in the world that will affect this nation. So there's that trust issue. So she's been a smart ass. That's the woman who thought she was going to have parties in lockdown. And that's why she got a load of booze in. She thought a couple of friends might come. Not a big party, but 2 friends might come during lockdown. Stay overnight in the spare bedroom or something. Sleep on the sofa bed. And just have a couple of drinks. Then in the morning, like, leave and go to the jobs or whatever. So that's her. And that's it for the Daily Mail. So I brought up, in this video yesterday, I talked about Angela Rayner I'm going to make a prediction. That's what she's going to do with over young girls when it all starts to fall about. But I also, because I'm on the coastal path, the tide was 3/4 of the way out, or a quarter of the way out, or 3/4 of the way in it, whatever. So you had a bit of the beach, and you had the sea, and I got the port in the background. And what I did was I stopped, and I've got the beach, sea, Penzance port, and the ferry was in. So what I did was I said the beach was Calais, the sea was the Channel, and the Sicilian ferry, docked ready to sail later, was Dover Harbour. And I said, what we're going to see is a mass exodus of people from Afghanistan. And then amongst them are going to be other people who see the opportunity to get in the crowd from other countries. And we're going to see this mass of Afghanis getting out of Afghanistan soon. It's going to start slowly and then it get up to a tidal wave, just like the Jews did with Nazi Germany. I watched something this morning about the Kinder program, where this country, this racist country, allowed 10,000 Jewish children, not the families, but 10,000 Jewish children to come into this country. Now, that was TV I saw this morning. That's a propaganda ready for the Afghan kids. That's a left-wing propaganda. And that's what you're going to see that as well. You're going to hear conversations about how we're a compassionate nation. But we're not. We're a fucking racist nation, because we know that from the football fans. But the left is going to go that we're a compassionate nation, and it's going to be brought up that we allow 10,000 Jewish children in. So why shouldn't we allow 10,000 Jewish Muslim families, Afghan families, but this time with the families, because we're really compassionate now. So, train of thought again. So we're going to have all these Afghans leaving Afghanistan, which you can't blame them. It's human nature. They've had a good time. When I say they've had a good time, they've had a taste of what freedom is. They've had a taste of what freedom is from tyrannical religion. That's what they've had a taste of. Now, if you go back 1,000 years, 800 years, King Edward VIII, whatever, and all that, and I'm just generalising, people got a taste of freedom from the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and went their own way. But these people are not going to be allowed to go their own way. They're going, it's going to be brutal what happens. And these kids that were born under the new freedom, technically, who the two sides, you see Afghanistan where you see the modern bit, you see the bits with the freedom where they go to cafes, they go bowling, they go to shopping malls, they go to the cinema. Them shopping malls are going to be fucking closed. Because you're not going to be allowed to buy anything that like plays music. You're not going to be allowed to buy modern clothes. It's going to be the fucking burqa and that's it. That's going to be your fashion. Your fashion is going to be whether it's going to be that light blue or black. That's fashion. And how the denier of the mesh. Imagine what damage that does to women's eyes. That mesh. Your vision. Anyway. So, all these things are going to end. And there are kids, young teenagers, who were born in this period of seeing what the West has to offer. They're off. They're coming to the West. Plus the families, everybody. So I said in this video yesterday on the way to work at 5:20 in the morning, you're going to see them all on Calais Beach, and you're going to see the French police just turning away, whistling, swinging the truncheons, pretending they can't see anything. And they're all going to be there. They're going to be zooming across on the boats because we now have a new policy, you see, that they will know about. All these people will know about this new policy, that all they've got to do is go out so far on the boat, and then they have a phone number that they phone. And the British Navy will come and pick them up and then take them to Dover. Because we've seen it. You're not seeing it on BBC News or anything like that, but on the internet, we're seeing people who are revealing that. It's now a crime to film it in Dover. It's now a crime. You can be charged by police. They know they're not going to win it in court, but it doesn't matter. It ties you down because you have to have restrictions on you. We're seeing all this oppression, parliamentary oppression on people, so that we don't report what's going on, where the British Navy and the Coast Guard and the lifeguards are picking up people in the middle of the channel. Not even the middle, they're going into French territory. And the French are parked up in their boat a couple of mile away, 100 yards, 500 yards away. They're in their boat in the channel. They're not picking them up because they're phoning to say they're in distress. And the French are there guarding them. And the British Navy, the Coast Guard, the lifeboats, they go into French waters and they pick these people up and they fetch them over. Well, now they know that. It's going to be, that's what's going to be happening. Right? That's going to be happening. So I likened this scene. That's what we're going to see in a few months. Beach, Channel, Dover. It's not in the paper. Nobody's preparing us for this. Nobody's making decisions yet. Nobody is starting the conversation. What shall we do? What should we do when it starts? Should we be that compassionate nation? Well, what happens when you're compassionate? Well, you get people like those two brothers who organised the bombing of the Manchester Arena during the Ariana Grande concert. That's what compassion gets you. It's like when you're compassionate, when you're compassionate with people and they shit on you. They burgle, you know, they rob you, they whatever, because you're compassionate. It's like the old ladies. There is a mentality of villain, gangster, crook that plays on the compassion of older people when they knock at the door and they say, can I have a glass of water, please? And the old lady goes in and gets a glass of water, and then you sneak in the house and you fucking rob stuff. That's playing upon compassion. Well, on a bigger scale, will the compassion of this country be abused? Well, it's always been abused. It's abused by people who are generational, who've been here, who class themselves as English, class themselves as Scottish, as Welsh, as Irish. Compassion is something that negative energy people use all the time to their benefit. That's why the world is where it is. It's like the Christians, the Anglican Church of England. It's constantly telling us to help them and turn the other cheek. To where we've now got into a situation where the Church of England is a waste of fucking time. Your vicars, your bishops, they are political appointees. Politics comes before God with your Church of England now. That is politics before God with the Church of England. And we're seeing it in America with your churches, your preachers. And I don't just mean your Vatican and your Anglican church. I mean all your churches. Government control. So, Afghanistan. It's a hot potato they're just not talking about yet. So let's talk about a couple of things about it. About the history of it. Do you remember that Tony Blair got a Congressional Medal of Honor for standing by America in their hour of need after 9/11 and going along with George Bush, being the first ally of George Bush, declared ally, where Tony Blair committed this country to side by side go into Afghanistan. Tony Blair got a Congressional Medal of Honor, but he's never picked it up from the Congress. He's never been to Congress. You know, like you see people going to the Queen, where she knights them with a sword, and they all record. It's all recorded somewhere. They've all got film of it, and every now and then you'll see somebody on the news, you know, oh, so and so got the sword, you know, got the fucking blessing of royalty, whatever, got a knighthood or got whatever they got, OBE. Well, Tony Blair got a Congressional Medal of Honor for standing by America and George Bush in its hour of need after 9/11 and going to Afghanistan, and also secretly agreeing to go into Iraq. But he's never picked up the medal because he didn't want a picture of him getting a Congressional Medal of Honor from Congress for doing what he did, because he's not proud of it. He's not proud of it. These people who go get Congressional Medals of Honour, or they get a medal from the Queen. Yeah, one sec. He got a George Cross, Kim Hughes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Kim Hughes. He got a George Cross for dealing with bombs. What do they call them? Oh, fuck it. The what's it bombs. And he got a Medal of Honour. He dealt with 40 in one day. 40 over 2 days in one period. And the nation rewarded him with a George Cross for what he did for this nation. And this film of him somewhere where he picked up his medal from the Queen and he got it pinned to his chest. And the Queen will have told him, "We are proud of your service," pinned it on, and he received it. And he took that not just for himself, he took that on behalf of all the soldiers that died alongside him or died doing what he was doing. In this book, there's one, he tells a story of another squad as experienced as his squad, another bomb disposal guy who got vaporised. That's why it's called painting the sand, because you're basically vaporised. And you just become this spray of blood. And he tells a story of that happening to one guy and how it not demoralised him, but it shook him, but then he had to shake it off. Now, he took that medal on behalf of everybody and himself as well, and the Queen presented it on behalf of the nation. Now, Congress gave Tony Blair that Congressional Medal of Honour on behalf of the nation of the USA to say thank you. And Tony Blair has never been and picked it up because he doesn't want a photograph taken of him doing that. Because he knows what he did was fucking evil and wrong. He knows. And he also knows down the line in the future, there's a possibility that he might be dubbed in and he might be made a war criminal. He knows that if circumstances suit it, the evil elite will dub him in and allow the prosecution of him and others, or the demonisation, maybe not the prosecution, but the demonisation, where he's classed as a war criminal. So he doesn't want people to talk about his role in Afghanistan. He doesn't. That's why he's never been pictured visiting the injured, those that returned from Afghanistan and Iraq, grievously wounded, losing limbs or dying. He's never been pictured with the families of, he's just never been pictured with them. I don't know if there's any pictures of him with heroes either, because he doesn't want to be remembered as being that person who took us into Afghanistan. It's just like her. All she did was that little bit there. How we got into Afghanistan and the things that were, the wickedness of it, the evilness of what took us in there. Forget 9/11, because 9/11 wasn't what it was told. It's like we had to go fight the Taliban. But you younger people might not realise. A couple of weeks before before Bush and Blair took us into Afghanistan, a week or so, CNN were in Afghanistan. Basically, Bush had given them the ultimatum: if you don't hand over Osama bin Laden, we're coming in to get him. That's what he said. If you're not with us, you're against us. And he said, we want Osama bin Laden and we're coming to get him. But the Taliban, being the traditionalists that they are, who put young girls in burqas and do not let girls have education, said, well, hang on, it's our tradition, because they're traditions as well. They're traditions of the religion and the people. They said, we're not allowed to hand over guests, you know. So, but if a guest does something wrong, then we do hand them over. That's what the Taliban told him. And CNN were interviewing the Taliban, and they were all sat at a table at CNN. And I forget who the interview was, CNN guy. Dan Ryder, I can't remember the name of him, but he was there talking to the Taliban, and he said, "Why won't you hand over Bin Laden?" And the Taliban just sat there, and he said, "Well, we're not allowed to because he's a guest." But this is the Taliban. They said this. Now, I don't think you'll be able to find this on YouTube now. But the Taliban leader says, "But if you give us evidence that he has done wrong, we will hand him over, because we have to hand him over, because he's done wrong under our protection, and you're not allowed to do wrong under protection, because it's abuse of protection. It's abuse of the guest tradition." And this Taliban guy said, if America gives us proof that Osama bin Laden did 9/11, we will hand him over. But they never gave him proof. They had no intention of giving him proof. So you can say, oh, that's like, why would you give these fucking knobheads proof, Why would you treat them seriously? Yeah, but the FBI said there's no evidence. On Osama bin Laden's FBI wanted poster, you've got the bombing of the American destroyer in the harbour in Yemen, and you've got the Kenyan United States embassy bombing on his wanted poster. He's the most wanted man in the world, and they were the two things he was wanted for. But he wasn't wanted for 9/11 on the FBI wanted poster. And when reporters actually asked the FBI at a press conference, why is bin Laden not wanted for 9/11 on his wanted poster, which you can go find on the internet. If you put Osama bin Laden FBI wanted poster, you'll find it. And the FBI were asked, why is 9/11 not on his wanted poster? The FBI said, because we haven't got any evidence that he did it. Now, people are going to go, what? But I was talking about this on blog radio. I even had the name of the press guy for the FBI when I did it. I was talking about this in 2007, 2008. There was no evidence that he did it. He organised all that. There is no evidence. His name was used. He volunteered himself up as the person who created it. But basically, you're saying a man in a cave sorted it all out. That's what you're basically saying. A guy in sandals. All right, he had the use of a corporate jet. Because Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan with CIA money. With American CIA money, Osama bin Laden built up a base. He built up bases outside Afghanistan. He built up bases in Afghanistan to fight the Russians with American money. All you've got to do is go watch the film Charlie Wilson's War with Tom Hanks. And you'll see how much American money went into fighting the Russians. Now, that was bin Laden got a lot of that money. That's why he was in Afghanistan. Osama was in bin Laden in Afghanistan with American money. And then we're expected to believe that all of a sudden he bombs the World Trade Center. But he just volunteered his name. And the bin Laden family made vast amounts of money out of 9/11 because the bin Laden construction company, based in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, got the contract to build the Green Zone. And they got the contract to build the American embassy, the most expensive embassy on the planet, in Iraq, in Baghdad. $1 billion plus the rest. That's only what they're telling you. $1 billion to build the American embassy within the Green Zone and all the other work they got in the Green Zone. But the embassy itself was just $1 billion. And then 6 fire bases, $250 million. Well, in my opinion, Osama bin Laden just gave his name up for the family. So the family could get richer. It's just a plot within a plot within a plot. It's like the Russian dolls where you get the dolls out, you never get to the bottom doll or it's infinity of dolls. Well, it's an infinity of hidden truths within the lies. And it's all come to this ending that wasn't meant to be. It wasn't in the plan. Afghanistan was supposed to be subdued. Iraq was supposed to be subdued, then they move on to Syria, and then they move on to Iran. But Afghanistan, the Taliban fucked it all up because they didn't roll over. And then you've got to look at the divine intervention. Is there divine intervention that the Muslims were not beat by Christian crusaders? Now, BBC are running all these things about football because football is the big distraction. And they keep showing these things because it's all about football, football. And they keep showing this link where these like different scenes of people all coming together and they're making it multicultural. All these people of this country, multicultural people supporting England football team. And there's one where the very first image you see is those guys with the Knights of Army, you know, with the big English cross and then the chainmail and the swords. They go to football all over the world watching England. Well, that could be, I'm going to tell you now, in a couple of years' time, when things get really, 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 really bad, that won't be allowed. And also, the BBC is subliminally programming you that they're crusaders. They're oppressive. They're a reminder of the oppressive history of this country, where the Crusaders of Europe, but we'll forget it's Europe. Europe never had anything to do with it. It was just us who went over to Jerusalem to kill hundreds of thousands of Muslims just to have possession of Jerusalem and the Holy Land. Now, that's why I just smiled when I saw it. That was the first image you got, and I just thought, oh, that's programming. Then you got Muslims, then you got Sikhs, and then you got like children and kids in school and this and that. And yet, what did we have the other day where a load of school children have sang a song and they've recorded it, you know, about football. We're coming home. A lot of kids in their junior school. The fucking trolls were on them. They were called racist. They had to shut down the school website because there was that much organised abuse, calling them racist. And yet there's the BBC putting on the Crusaders. I've diverted there. But at the end of the day, we're never going to be able to say, I'm never going to be able to do enough videos with enough information or enough feelings or emotion about the wrongness of what's happened in the last 20 years. But at the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself the question, because I've asked it in the book and I've asked it on my blog radio shows. That it's as though the plan has got I remember doing a blog radio show years ago where I said the plans of men and mice often go awry. And we've got this evil elite who to the universe are mice. They're not even mice, they're less than mice. You got that mouse that thinks it can get the cheese off the trap and it can fucking get that cheese off the trap with no damage. Well, this evil elite think they can start wars, global wars, to make profit and think that God will not get them, just like the mouse trap won't get the cheese. But you don't see that snap in that instant like you do with the trap and the mouse. With the evil elite, it's over years, it's over decades, and it's over hundreds of years. It's over 1,000 years before the trap snaps shut on them. And we're just bystanders in this global spiritual battle because we're men and mice. We're just mice in the spiritual battle. We're the equivalent of the ant on the moon on its own, fucking wandering around thinking, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? That's what the ant's doing. You know, if it had that type of brain. Who am I? What am I? And why am I here? Well, the ant has to discover who it is alone on the moon. So I could go on about loads, but at the end of the day, it's coming. That tidal wave is out there. That tidal wave of emotion, that tidal wave of pain. And we're going to visually see it on TV like we visually saw Vietnam, where they're all on the roof of the US Embassy. And then what did the Marines do? They locked the doors. And then they were guarding the doors. While they were guarding the doors, the last plane took off. Then they got on the roof, and then they're on the roof on their own. Well, that's how we're going to feel. And do you know what? All this pain is going to be exploited by Parliament. Because there is a plan to fuck this country up. There's a plan to fuck this country up. It's a long, slow process. It's like an heroin addict. His life is painful, but you can't change it. And we can't change where this country's going. We can't change the destination. And the turnaround that I talk about, the spiritual turnaround, where the snap traps shut on the evil elite, well, it's not going to be in our lifetime. I don't know how many lifetimes it's going to be. But all I know is my role in all this is like the ant on the moon on its own. I'm here to discover who I am, why I'm here, and why I am. And that's it. And fuck Angela Rayner.